My name's Josh Soki.
I'm Frank.
I'm James.
I'm Mohammed.
I'm Ryland.
And I'm Samip.
And today we are doing our presentation on Can Robots Be Our Friends? For Can Robots Be Our Friends, we have a few main topics that we're going to go through today. The first one being human interaction versus AI interaction. I personally believe there is a massive difference between human interaction and AI interaction. The main one being that it is just impossible to program an AI to interact with a human in every sense of situation. In some ways it will work, and in some ways there's always going to be problems that the human will end up finding with the situation.
Yeah, I mean, have you guys seen that Black Mirror episode? The one where they're, I think it's the second episode, but they're riding bikes and basically they're all doing everything through like an avatar.
No,
I
They
haven't
live in a
seen that.
facility just to make money, and like they're all personal avatars, and like everything is just teched out.
Yeah, and
So-
the only way they communicate is through their avatars, basically.
Mm.
So that would almost relate into like what Mark Zuckerberg would be trying to do with the metaverse and trying to make it that you show up to work or for school through an avatar in a online world. Would that would kind of be the same as that episode then?
Yeah, it gets really dark, but
Yeah, pretty dark.
definitely like living everything through a screen and all that.
Yeah,
but in my
I-
opinion, that's not okay. Humans, we have thoughts, right? We have feelings, so we know what the other person is thinking, or we know how they feel, right? Whereas like AI interaction, like robot to robot interaction, is more like certain things that we program them to do, so they wouldn't have
it's already
they wouldn't be able
pre-scripted.
to
Yeah.
it's like pre-scripted. They wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to think outside the box. They only have a certain limit.
They only have
to
what they have.
they can. Yeah.
Yeah, you can teach it to perform something, but you can't teach it to understand a new thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is crucial when it comes to building a relationship and building a
Mhm.
friendship, because robots will probably never have the true consciousness and feelings when it comes to what needs to be in a relationship.
What
James
do you
or
think?
Mohammed?
Yeah.
Would you guys?
Well, so I agree with Ryland's like opinion where like robots, they might not always be like they're not truly able to replace that physical human interaction. Like we're even like in today's like day and age, like with the technology that we have, where like people are trying to make truly self-aware AI and robots where they will eventually understand that they're going to understand like what they are, where they are, what are humans, and they're going to understand the aspects of like human life and human emotions, and how can they take that in. Like I think it will, like down the line, maybe like 10, 20 years, even 30 years down the line, I feel like they will incorporate more of like the truly self-aware AI. But again, going back to Ryland's opinion, it won't necessarily go and replace that true physical human to
Relationship.
human interaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's more so, instead of like, nowadays we have robots that do tasks for us or that understand
Yeah.
basic language, but over time it's gonna go towards the point of that interaction between like humans and animals, right? Where the robot understands that these humans, right, they're friendly, and they're close with them. I don't think like the way we treat animals, I think it's going to be similar to how we treat robots, in that aspect of that they can be friendly, but I don't think they'll truly replace that physical human interaction.
But also a flaw with that is that we know that animals are never going to be capable of like taking over anything.
Right.
So like giving robots these abilities to have these emotions like in the future does have some
It has
risks.
some issues with it.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of it
it
has
has
to do with
risks.
projection. Like you project your
Yeah.
emotions on
Right.
Yeah.
the
So,
animal,
like,
or
yeah. So we know that like these animals they don't have the tendencies that we think robots can have.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary when you want to build a relationship because you want an interaction with someone with all the trust that you could get, right?
hmm
But let's say like, one day that we're able to give these robots, thoughts. We're able to give them emotions. What if they're all not good? Like what if there are
Yeah.
some
Yeah, that is a possibility
like,
as well.
Well, there's know how there's bad people who raise dogs in a bad way and then say like pit bulls have been known to be a very dangerous and bad breed just based off of how people have raised and treated
Right.
them.
Yeah.
What if there ends up being very bad robots just because crappy people end up doing the same thing as what they have done with like the pit bulls?
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing that they say that they're going to do. Like the Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. Robots can't harm themselves. They can't harm humans. And then there's another third law, but basically it's built into the programming of the robot that you can't do certain things.
Yeah.
So I think for like true,
They can be weaponized pretty much.
yeah, but I think for like true friendship, you need to have a bit of conflict as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
true.
And,
Well, yeah. Your best friend you fought with probably at some point in your life or had some sort of conflict with at some point that you resolved and got closer to had a better understanding because it's just all goes through mutual understanding through feelings, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
And like if we were to program a robot to be our friend, we would want it to not have any of those conflicts. We would want them to be a perfect friend figure, which is like a bit unrealistic and not totally what a friendship means because like relationships do have conflicts and that's what builds relationships stronger in a
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
So like a robot being programmed to be a friend with someone wouldn't have those conflicts and
Right,
like
right.
that type of relationship building that you could have with a human.
So I think we should start getting on to one of the next main topics that we have. But before we do that, would you like to add anything to this topic, James?
No.
No?
All of the things says are the same as my opinions.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
So our next main topic we have today is VTubers. And so for you who don't know what VTubers are, they're basically virtual artists or like YouTubers, streamers.
Avatars, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my opinion on them is I think that they are pretty cool. And really, in my head, I see them no different than like how a kid could look up and like a cartoon. But I also, in a way, find like on an idolization standpoint, when you like really young and you start idolizing stuff, it's really important, in my opinion, to like idolize something that you could look up to and work towards in a certain way. So if you look up to someone who's made a very good brand for themselves and made himself very popular through YouTubing and gaming and marketing themselves, you can look up and be like, that's who I would like to be one day and work towards that. But if you're
Right,
looking up
right.
to a robot or an avatar and like that is what you are idolizing, it kind of leaves a blank of like what you do because you will never be that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about the VTubers though is that there's a person behind the robot,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
we see
Yeah.
the interface,
Exactly.
the GUI, but there's an actual human being there.
Yeah.
And it's just the programming that does all the effects and
Yeah, that's a good
Right.
point.
But is this where everything is gonna start? Is my question. Like, is this where we develop robots that might be able to mimic us? In fact, like, is
That's
this
true.
a start point to like actual robotics? Like, let's say we were able to download everything that like every data that we've made it to mimic, and maybe program it into them. Is this the start? Is like where I'm getting at.
I mean,
with
it
the
could
VTuber
be, but
stuff.
it's almost just like an avatar. Like
Yeah.
the VTubers right now, just to give a better understanding, it's more of just like an avatar than like trying to be a robot, because
Yeah.
Usually the VTuber scene, like they don't want the public to see their actual faces, and so they use these AI avatars that move along with them. So if they move their head right, the avatar will move their head the same way, and so on.
And
But yeah, so like people idolize these avatars and like built an actual connection like through watching these streams. And I think that was like, it's a step to progress when we are talking about robots being our friends, because
Well-
we are already trying to build a relationship with an avatar.
Well, I mean, the thing is with the whole VTuber scene, it's just like, you know, again, it's because we know that it's humans. They're just using like the AI, they're using the
Yeah.
software and whatnot. I don't necessarily think that, like, yeah, there's that aspect of that robotics could be implemented as well in this, but because the way I've seen VTubers is just that they're just using it for more so of like a way to get become more popular, right? It's just more of a thing to get more people to watch
Like a
their
trend.
stream. Yeah, essentially it's that, and
Yeah.
some VTubers, they appeal to like a certain audience as well, and people enjoy that and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I think these people they're just trying to normalize this VTuber, this whole VTuber scene, but I don't think it's necessarily like kind of fitting in with like it could be, there could be applications where robotics can come into play, but I feel like it won't.
But for
They're gonna be
my
pretty advanced robots. They'd
Yeah.
have to be able to like,
Yeah.
create their own content and all that.
Yeah,
In-
yeah,
in
no,
my
I
sense-
don't see that. Yeah,
in my sense, I'm just saying that like people are being attracted and like idolizing these avatars. Like this would be a step towards people being friends
Well,
with robots. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
I
that
guess- I guess that could
that the
also work
VTuber
out.
scene itself is going to become like a robotic scene. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that that's a step towards.
Yeah, that's
Robots
what I
being
was
our friends.
getting.
well, yeah, that also makes sense as well.
Would I be able to add? Sorry, Mohammed. Would I be able to add to that quickly, Rylan? Like,
Yeah,
can I
go
get your
for it.
opinion?
no, go ahead.
Would
go ahead.
you think then, like with what you just said, that with the way COVID in the world has been changing and going, that we're going to get a lot more, say, advancements or things like VTubers in our like day-to-day life, and it's not going to be like something that just kids that are on YouTube and like have found that just specifically like every person's going to go on their phone or computer and they're going to see something that is almost in a relation to that until it progresses to like a robot personality.
Well, the technology, or like just the metaverse kind of interaction has kind of already started happening when it comes to COVID. If you ever watched America's Got Talent, you saw that when COVID was just arising, that they had a virtual audience and just had their cameras on, and like that's how they would interact. And
Was big in basketball too.
yeah, they had a whole bubble, and they had just like huge screens with just the audience, and like you could just sign up to try to join the audience and stuff like that. So I think we're already kind of working towards that, and COVID kind of pushed it a little bit because we weren't really able to have face-to-face human interactions.
Right.
So I
right.
think COVID just advanced it a bit more, and like we got a bit of a head start into the more virtualized world than we did before.
So I think we should get on to the next main topic. We are running at 15 minutes here, so we're going to go on to discussing if do artificial intelligence have consciousnesses. Sorry for my pronunciation there.
Yeah. Like my main thing with robots is, do they have consciousness? Like, are they self-aware? Because if you don't have consciousness, do you matter? Is
Yeah,
my
at what point
question.
is it?
Like, do you matter if
Yeah.
you don't have consciousness?
Well,
That's where I'm getting at with that.
Going back to like the previous point as well with the human versus AI interaction. Like I think that in like maybe again 10, 20, 30 years, because I believe there's people out there like the technology, they're just beginning to develop the concept, and they're beginning to implement the concept of truly self-aware AI with consciousness, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know, because and there's also another sort of thing as well, right? Will AI, when they have this consciousness, will they sort of think on their own and do different things,
Yeah, it could.
right?
Yeah, that's another
will they
risk
start to
that
do different things than
you'd
What
have
would
to
robots
see.
think of us?
Yeah,
Yeah,
what would-
exactly.
yeah.
Will it
Yeah.
cause like a civil war or whatever? Or will something
Yeah.
happen?
World
Right?
wars,
There's that
everything.
doomsday theory as well.
Just download human history. Be like,
Yeah.
what are our creators?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like,
Well,
I
But
got a
then
quick
if we're not able
question
to,
for
Yes,
James.
Rowan?
Actually, I have a quick question for James. I want to ask you if you think we'll ever get to that point of implementing a consciousness into a robot, and do you think if it's a good or bad thing?
Um, as of right now, we're at the high peak of technology. We are almost there to achieve self-awareness for robots and AI, but I don't think we're just that yet. I
yeah,
think maybe in the near future, like in 10 or 20 years, we might be achieve that. But I don't
Yeah.
think that's a very good thing
Okay,
because
and why is that?
because we don't know if the robots are having
We don't know their
uh,
tendencies, right?
yeah,
You
we
know,
don't
their
know
tendencies,
what
yeah.
they intend to do. They might take over a world or
Mhm.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
even try to erase human race.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no.
Then that
But
goes.
this-
That also goes back to what Frank was saying earlier of the Asimov laws, right?
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but then this comes back to the question: can robots be nice to humans? If
Well-
they don't have consciousness, they're pretty much going by the program itself, right? So
Yeah.
we will probably most likely program it for them to be nice to us. But would that be being nice or just them having to be nice?
Well, that's where the Turing test comes into play. I don't know if you guys know too much about this, but the Turing test basically it's a test to see if robots can mimic human behavior well enough that humans can't even tell the difference. So you'll have you'll have a setup where you have 3 computers, and and there's an interrogator and 2 questioners, and basically the interrogator will question each respondent, and if you can't tell the difference, the robots pass the Turing test.
Mm,
So my one thing that I have is that like if they were to have a conscious, like in order to have a conscious, you have to know when you have done something wrong and feel like guilty about when you've done something wrong and know when you've done something right. So wouldn't we have to also program the robots to like they would have to do something wrong or that like we wouldn't ethically disagree with so that they would feel like have a guilty conscience about it, and then that way they would be more self-aware, but then that would go back to breaking like the Asimov laws because they aren't supposed to be able to harm humans or do basically anything bad. I think in order to make them fully conscious, you would have to remove those laws, but then that would like provide danger to our society.
yeah,
Yeah.
That
it
could
would.
backfire on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that could
like do you
backfire.
want robots that are your friends, or do you want robots that will serve you,
Yeah.
like a
And
master
robots
slave kind
that
of
serve
thing?
you aren't your friends.
Yeah, that's the thing as well.
Yeah,
Like you want to. I think it should. I think like it's not a like it goes both ways, good and bad for self consciousness in terms of like for robots. Like it's a good sort of thing to test out, but I would obviously, but it needs to be under control. You know, with because there have to be a lot of research and a lot of testing going into place for um, for the self consciousness for robots. But obviously, with the Asimov laws of robotics, right? You know, you don't want them to be fully like Josh said. You don't want them to be fully robotic. Yeah, no, I just don't think it will be. I don't think they'll ever truly be self aware like we are as humans.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a certain limit that
Yeah.
will reach with technology for robots. But yeah,
Yeah, and I wouldn't support them having, like consciousness, because going back, it could backfire on us. What if they don't think of us
Mhm.
as a good thing? What if
Mhm.
they get like jealous of us? Like,
Or like,
oh,
what
you
if their
guys-
interpretation of friends isn't the way that we think it is?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
so many
Yeah,
different
they could-
things that could go wrong.
So, guys, we are at a few minutes left in our show / podcast here. So for our question that we had that we were answering, can a robot replace humans? I want each of you to answer that quickly. Like, Frank, do you think so? I mean, can they be our friends? Sorry.
I don't think so. Like I think that like to be honest with you, I think that robots could fill up the need for human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But based on like their programming and all that, I don't think they could ever actually truly be our friends. Like there's nothing actual there. Like your emotions will never be reciprocated. You're never gonna get anything truly real back.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
James?
I agree with Frank because robot and AI still don't have the compatibility to feel. Maybe someday in the far future, but not right now. With how far we've gotten with our knowledge of robots and artificial intelligence.
Okay, Mohammed?
Yeah, again, going back to like what Frank said, like I just think that robots will never truly be, they won't replace humans. I just more see, I see them more as like how the interaction between animals and humans, like, you know, pets and humans, right? I kind of see that interaction, wanting the need for human attention and understanding that this human appreciates me for what I am, you know, but I don't think it will like, and also what James said, it won't really like, you know, maybe someday we'll have it, but just now I feel like it's just gonna go at that limit.
Yeah.
And Ryland?
Yeah, I think there's like way too many variables and like way too many risks to make a robot to be our friend. And I like, as a friendship is, I don't think that a robot could fit the criteria of being a friend at all. In
Okay.
my opinion, at least.
Okay, I totally agree with that. And Samit, not last but not least.
My viewpoint is kind of like different from you guys.
Okay, let's hear
Because
it.
I do think that they can be our friends. Just not as of now, maybe in the far future. However, and this is a big however, they must have self-consciousness. Like we would have to develop them so they have thoughts, they have feelings, and they understand how we feel regards to like what we're saying, right? So
Yeah.
for example, when I'm talking, you guys can like kind of generalize if I'm happy or sad or you know like that. If humans can interpret that and make decisions off of that, I think they can be our friends. I just believe we don't have the technology right now to do so, but in the far future, we will definitely have that. I'm hoping.
Yep. Okay, yeah, I can
Yeah.
agree with that too, honestly.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
there's also a risk to it, right? Like like
Mhm.
we talked about. What if me and some robot have an argument and he decides to get revenge on me or something because he has the ability to think by himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if he wants to like see me get harmed because he wants revenge or something, right? Yeah, it has like different
Mm-hmm.
risk to it.
All right. So thank all you guys for your opinions and sharing your thoughts throughout this podcast. And thank you for listening. And
Thank you.
that's all we got for you
Alright.
guys today.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Josh,
Alright.
for having us here.
Thanks
you,
for having us,
Josh.
Josh.
Yeah.
Here.